tonight's stories, Super Typhoon Mawar hit Guam as a Category 4 storm, bringing gale force winds and heavy rain, marking the strongest storm to hit the U.S. Pacific territory in decades. We'll be speaking with a Filipina in Guam about her experience later on in the show.
The bill in the Maharlika Investment Fund could soon make its way to the BICAM level after being certified urgent by the President. The measure will hit the Senate plenary for interpellation and could be passed as early as next week. We'll compare the House and Senate versions later in the program.
And the Dominican priest charged for supposedly offending religious feelings of the devotees of Our Lady of Mary Mediatrix of All Grace has spoken up against the allegations. We'll talk about that and the law that he allegedly violated later on.
Welcome to the show. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Chicky Verhel.
And I'm Sean Yao. Of course, Gretch, I think there can only be one big story today.
Typhoon Mawar hitting Guam. Ang sabi nila, what used to be a jungle looks like toothpicks now. That's how strong the storm is.
Grabe yung mga video sa social media. Parang yung car na nakapark, biglang it just...
trees uprooted, yung mga ano nila, yung mga bubong, lumipad.
The strongest storm in decades, I believe.
Correct.
And of course, we are tuning into that because that might happen to us. Luckily, it will not make landfall here in the Philippines, but it is expected to pull in the monsoon,
Hangin habagat,
yung hangin habagat, and bring rains to the western part of Luzon and Visayas.
Right. Also, when you take a look at the outer rain bands of Mawar, it is so big. When you look at the satellite photos, you can see the circulation is actually bigger than the entire land mass of Luzon.
Ito ba yung eye wall na tinatawag?
Yung eye wall sa gitna lang yun eh. Pero yung outer rain bands, may ganun siya. May inner rain bands, may outer
Parang
rain bands.
rainbow.
Yes, rainbow.
Pero balikan natin yung sa Guam, no? What you're seeing now are videos that surface showing the strong winds and heavy rain caused by Typhoon Mawar in Guam. All but 1,000 of the island's 52,000 homes and businesses lost power. That's according to the Guam Power Authority. But government officials reported nothing unusual in hospital emergency rooms and only moderate damage such as flooding, fallen debris, and downed power lines. Sana all, no? Sana dito, ganun din.
Sana.
Naku.
Diba? Oo. Wind speeds place the storm in Category 4, the second strongest designation on the Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale, and just short of Category 5. One Filipino in Guam shared their experience during the storm. Let's listen in.
And napakalakas po kasi, halos sumuga po yung building eh. Sobrang lakas nung hangin. Marami kanina nakita ko maraming structure na nagbagsakan, yung mga signages nila, yung traffic light, yung mga puno. Dito sa hotel may bubagsak na kisame sa lobby kasi sobrang lakas siguro ng ulan.
Right, and we all know, marami tayong mga kababayan na nasa Guam, and we have another Filipino from Guam joining us right now to talk about their experience during the Super Typhoon. Joining us live via Zoom is Jenny Luces. Jenny, good evening. Medyo madilim pa na tinitingnan ko yung video mo ngayon. Kamusta na dyan? Nakabalik na ba yung tubig, kuryente, at of course, internet at cellphone signal?
Hi, good evening po sa inyong lahat. Actually, right now, wala pa kaming power until now. Since last night, 6 o'clock, wala na kaming power. But sa area namin, thank God, meron pang tubig. That's more important. As long as there's water, I think we will be fine for at least few days. Yung power naman, we have battery-operated lights. So we will be fine. Right now, umuulan pa rin, mahangin pa rin sa labas. And we are still assessing kung ano yung mga na-damage sa area namin.
Hey, Jenny, tell us a little bit about your experience with the storm. Gaano katagal yung ulan na napakalakas? And ano yung kalagayan ng ating mga kababayan dyan?
Okay, so with my experience, honestly, 14 years in Guam, this is my first experience. It was a very scary experience. We thought the door would come off kasi sa sobrang lakas ng hangin, and then with the wind na sobrang lakas, yung tubig, so much rain with the wind. So medyo bumaha konti sa loob ng bahay namin, pumasok sa bintana. Although designed yung bahay dito sa Guam for typhoon, kaya may mga typhoon shutters kami, it did not make any difference kasi pumasok pa rin yung tubig. yung mga kababayan naman natin, for now, we are communicating through FB Messenger kasi may mga groups tayo, iba-ibang groups dito sa Guam, mga Filipino. We check in, everybody's fine. Yun nga lang, maraming na damage, mga sasakyan, mga structures na bumagsak, mga puno. May basta maraming na damage, like yung gate namin na medyo mahal, medyo na-damage din. But it's okay. Bagay lang yon. We can always get it later on. Ang importante, everybody's safe.
Jenny, I'm not sure kung aling part ka sa Guam nandun, no? Pero I know yung pinaka-apektado are yung northern part. So may preparations ba kayong ginawa? Kasi medyo expected na dun papunta.
Yes, Monday morning pa lang, May 22, we were told to be ready. May advice na ang government na seek for shelter. May mga naka-assign na shelter, mga schools dito, inopen nila for yung mga tao na nakatira sa roofing tin only. Kasi as you can see sa satellite, yung mata mismo ng bagyo is as big as Guam, yung map ng Guam. So talagang we took it seriously, and good thing na sumunod kaming lahat dahil we never expected it to be like that strong. Yung experience was not really hindi ko siya ma-explain, but yeah, we were ready. We're ready. We bought a lot of canned goods na, batteries, lights na pwedeng gamitin in times like this na wala kaming power since yesterday, just to survive.
Alright, Jenny, question. Siyempre, may mga weather forecast naman tayo. Na-warn ba kayo dyan ng Guam government? Kasi parating na siya dito sa Pilipinas. Naghahanda na rin ang Philippine government for this. I was just wondering, ano yung difference ng mga preparations ng government dyan sa Guam vis-a-vis dito based on your experience?
Okay. 1 week pa lang kasi dahil yung Guam kasi is dinadaanan ng bagyo, they're very particular on sa weather forecast. So we monitor it. Meron kaming agency dito na nagmo-monitor katulad sa Philippines. So 1 week pa lang we were already warned na there could be a typhoon coming. And then as it gets closer, we realized na it's actually very big and it's very strong until weekend before the typhoon came, mga Friday, nag-start na kaming mag-ready. I think dahil nga ang Guam is used to yung mga dinadaanan siya ng typhoon, kahit maliit na storm lang yan or malakas o hindi, everybody's getting ready kasi based from their experience before, and especially from the last one in 2002, that was really big. So this one here, looking at it, sabi nila, it's almost as strong as that typhoon. So the government, as I mentioned, nag-prepare na sila ng shelters sa mga taong kailangan ng shelter. And then we were advised to gas our car, yung mag-stock na ng food, any necessary na kailangan i-prepare just in case na we're still hoping na sana hindi dumaan, pero we were actually supposed to be a direct hit, but we're blessed na hindi direct, but nasa dededo pala kami, so we are actually in the northern part, kaya medyo mas maraming damages sa area namin.
Generator po ba yan? Yung gamit nyo ngayon? Oo.
Hindi, flashlight lang to. Yeah,
Paano kayo nagka-internet? Oo.
Pero cellphone,
Yun,
cellphone ba gamit mo, Jenny? Nagtataka kami kasi alinaw ng signal.
It's a cellphone.
Okay.
It's good kasi
Galing.
kasi kami ng bagyo. So, we only have 2 telecompanies here, GPH at Docomo. Yung pinaka-big companies na nagsusupport ng internet sa amin, telephone. So, they're really good in preparing this kind of stuff. So, kaya siguro, magaling yung signal.
Oo.
Yes. Yun ang pinaka-importante, yung signal talaga.
Amen. Pagdadasal namin kayo, Jenny.
The lessons to learn from her
Yes,
experience,
exactly.
right?
Ang dami niyang tips. So, gagawin ko yun mamaya pag-uwi. Jenny, maraming salamat. Pagdadasal namin kayo dyan sa Guam at pagdasal niyo rin kami dito sa Pilipinas. Ingat kayo dyan. Jenny Luces.
Preparation
Salamat.
and foresight.
And makinig sa gobyerno.
Tama. Well, as Super Typhoon Mawar makes its way to the Philippine area of responsibility, local governments are preparing for the heavy rains and possible flooding. Rescue teams and LGUs near the typhoon's track are already on standby. The MMDA has already released its newly purchased aluminum and fiberglass boats, military truck, life vests, life buoys, and other rescue equipment. These will be stationed in flood-prone areas in Metro Manila such as Camanava, Quezon City, and Marikina. Rescue teams may also be sent to provinces when needed. Over in Rojas District of Quezon City, there are already CCTV cameras and a public address system in place to inform residents living near the creek in case the water level rises. The Social Welfare Department, meanwhile, mentioned that they have prepared food packs worth around 565 million pesos for those in need. The agency has also instructed the preparation of evacuation sites.
Ito pong parating na bagyo, masasabi natin na blessing po ito at first. Blessing dahil may dala po itong tubig. Hopefully mapuno yung ating mga dams. Kung sobra naman po ang dami ng tubig na dadalhin na itong bagyo na ito, ay pwede po magdulot ng pagbaha.
Really know what to expect, diba? Pero kasi, although sanay na rin kami dito kasi na tumataas yung tubig yan sa may gilid ng ilog. So, I think well prepared naman kami.
The Philippine Red Cross reminds Filipinos to prepare emergency go bags in case there's a need to evacuate. Here's what you need to pack. The Red Cross says your go bags should have ready-to-eat food and potable water enough to last for 72 hours. Tagala. You should also pack your hygiene kit, including toothbrush and soap, as well as a lifeline kit, which includes a flashlight, a whistle, and extra batteries. And also, battery-operated radios. The Philippine Red Cross also reminds Filipinos to prepare medicine, first aid kit, and important documents, including their birth certificate. It's also important to place these items in a waterproof bag.
Good to be reminded.
Hindi ko maiisip yung birth certificate. So,
Birth
buti na lang
certificate.
nabanggit mo yun. Oo.
Ano
Maiisip
ba
ko yung food, yung battery, yung flashlight.
Oo.
Pero okay, important documents. Alright, lipat naman tayo sa mga recent updates on Super Typhoon Mawar. As of 3 p.m., it was forecast or located by Pag-asa at around 2,000 kilometers east of southern Luzon, packing wind speeds of up to 195 kilometers per hour with gusts of up to 240 kilometers per hour. It's currently moving west-northwestward at a speed of 15 kilometers per hour. For now, it has no direct effect on the country yet, but it is still expected to enter the PAR tomorrow evening or on Saturday morning, after which it will be given the local name Betty. The heavy rains we have been experiencing tonight as well as last night are still caused by the southwesterly wind flow. That is bringing cloudy skies with scattered rains and thunderstorms over Palawan, Western Visayas, Northern Mindanao, Soxcargen, the Zamboanga Peninsula, and BARMM. Meanwhile, Metro Manila and the rest of the country are experiencing localized thunderstorms.
In other news, the National Police Commission, or NAPOLCOM, wants the police force to do away with the so-called metric system in carrying out drug-related arrests. NAPOLCOM Executive Officer Alberto Bernardo said that such a scheme could be prompting police personnel to fake drug arrests and seizures. Here's why.
Yung ginagamit nilang performance rating, base doon sa huli. Kaya sometimes, natitempt na gumagawa ng huli para lang magkaroon ng accomplishments.
Bernardo said that the system required police officers to produce 5 to 10 arrests to be considered for promotion. Both NAPOLCOM and the PNP are also batting for additional funding for drug operatives to discourage them for asking for cash rewards in exchange for successful drug operations. Up next, the bill on the Maharlika Investment Fund gets certified as urgent. We'll check how the measure is doing in the Senate. When the big story returns, keep it here on One News. watching the big story here on One News. On Wednesday, President Marcos certified as urgent the Senate bill that seeks to create the Maharlika Investment Fund. From the initial proposals, this measure has now become totally unrecognizable. Here's what we know. The palace is targeting to pass the measure before Congress adjourns this June 2. Their next session will be during the President's State of the Nation address set on July 24, where the palace wishes to banner the measure. The President has earlier certified as urgent the House Bill 6608 that calls for the creation of the Maharlika Sovereign Wealth Fund. But there's a big difference between the separate Maharlika bills filed in Congress and the Senate that have been certified as urgent. Since the measure was first proposed, lawmakers have made a lot of changes to the proposed measure. The first Maharlika Sovereign Wealth Fund proposal at the lower chamber aimed to raise funds for global investments. Sovereign wealth funds typically come from the country's excess wealth, but in the initial version of the measure in Congress, funding will come from state-run lenders and pension funds like the Land Bank and SSS. Many criticize these proposals, noting that it may expose pensioners to higher risks.
The Congress immediately revised the proposal. In the end, the proposed funding sources no longer includes pension funds. Instead, the funding will come from state-run banks and 100% of dividends from the BSP, o Bangko Sentral. This latest version of the House bill was passed after 2 weeks of deliberations. Now, over at the Senate, lawmakers are eyeing to pass a different version of the Maharlika. Instead of a sovereign wealth fund, senators want Maharlika to be a national development fund. The difference? Well, instead of the government making international investments under a sovereign wealth fund, the National Development Fund will be used to finance important projects within the country. Under the Senate version of the bill, or SB 2020, the seed capital will still come from state-run banks, BSP dividends, and privatization of government assets. Aside from those, funding will also come from the issuance of bonds. President Marcos has also referred to Maharlika as a national investment fund, which he says will be the basis for high-impact infrastructure projects.
And with Senate version of Maharlika getting certified as urgent, Senate President Mig Zubiri says the chamber is eyeing to approve the measure by next week. Now, bakit mabilis, no? Pag sinertify as urgent, pwede mo siyang gawin in one day.
In one day,
In
oo.
one session.
Pero ang tanong, bakit nagmamadali?
Ayun talaga ang question of the century.
This has a lot of loopholes still.
For
See
sure.
who will compose the board of directors, the tax exemptions, also the checks and balances within the proposed measure.
Minsan kasi, di ba, pag minamadali nila yung, or parang nire-railroad nila yung isang law, mamaya na papasok dyan yung IRR, tsaka na lang. Kumbaga, pasa muna natin, tsaka na lang yung finer points, like yung mga questions that Gretchen was asking, di ba? And so, mag-a-adjourn na nga on June 2 ang Congress. So,
Break
for
na.
sure,
Oo.
by then, pasado na to.
Oo, before June.
But if the Senate does pass this on final reading next week, don't they have to consolidate their version with the Houses? Kasi nga magkaiba ito yung sa Senate at Kongreso, di ba?
Yeah, sobrang magkaiba. At yun na nga, Gretchen, no? Sabi nga ni Senate President Zubiri, ay hinahope niya na yung House will just adopt the Senate version, noting that the Senate bill has more safeguards in place to prevent the misuse of funds.
Oo, mas mabilis yun.
Sabi rin ni Senator Cheese Escudero that this move will allow them to pass the bill ahead of the break as they no longer have to fix the different provisions or to align them. Meanwhile, Senator Robin Hood Padilla said that he has accepted the unfortunate fate of his push to amend the economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution. Other lawmakers believe that this move is no longer needed as the Maharlika Fund and the Public Service Act are enough to attract foreign investments.
Yan ang sinasabi ng economic managers ng presidente. Sinasabi nila, it will work. Pag pumalpak yan, may mananagot. Ako yun lang naman, accountability lang naman ang gusto ko eh. O bakit natin babarahin? Diba? Bakit natin kukontrahin? Eh ito yung programa ng economic team ng presidente.
Yung movie na Plaridel when I see him.
Hindi ko pa napapanood
Malalaman natin mamaya kung bakit nga ba siya nakabigote ngayon.
Yun nga eh,
Kaya in-explain niya yan.
Before natin pag-usapan yung kanyang outfit, yung kanyang bigote at yung kanyang style, ang tanong, will Senator Padilla vote in favor of the Maharlika Fund? And how did the Senate minority react to President Marcos's decision to certify this bill as urgent? Let's ask these questions to our Senate reporter, Los Baños. Mayan, bakit?
Yes, Sean, Senator Robin Padilla says he will surely vote yes to the proposed Maharlika Investment Fund, but he warns that he will continue his push for charter change if this measure proves ineffective in bringing in more foreign investments in the country. The Senate minority, led by Senator Coco Pimentel, meanwhile says they will vote no to the proposed measure. Pimentel is set to hold a speech at the plenary where he will present his arguments in opposing the Maharlika Investment Fund. Sean?
All right, thank you for that, Los Baños.
Some sad news, guys, in the music industry. We all have heard about this. Queen of rock and roll Tina Turner has died at the age of 83. Her manager said Turner died Tuesday after battling a long illness in her home in Switzerland. Turner had suffered ill health in recent years, being diagnosed with intestinal cancer in 2016 and having a kidney transplant in 2017. Turner rose to prominence as the lead singer of the Ike and Tina Turner Revue before launching a successful career as a solo performer. Her trademarks were her growling contralto, tama ba yan?
Yes.
Her bold smile and strong cheekbones, pati the legs, ha? Her palette of wigs and her muscular, oh, there you go,
Parang fancy
quick-stepping
Sean, eh, no?
legs.
Of course,
Oh.
di ka ba fan ni Tina Turner?
Parang hindi ako
What's
born
love?
sa...
Ay, ito na naman. Sige na, mag-commercial na tayo. After the break,
What's love?
Dominican Exorcist Priest Father Winston Cabading faces a criminal case for, quote, offending religious feelings. The charge was filed against him by Marian devotee and retired Justice Harriet Demetriou. What the arguments when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
You're still watching the big story here in One News. You must know, guys, sa prompter, binastardize yung spelling ng name ko.
Pero may iba mong binastardize? Meron
eto.
nga ba?
Meron
Ano?
nga ba? Well, ito
Eto
nga
na.
yung aalamin
Atol.
natin.
Ano ba, Atol?
Oh, no basis daw. That's what Exorcist Priest Father Winston Cabading said about the charge of offending religious feelings filed against him by former COMELEC chairperson Harriet Demetriou. The complaint filed by Demetriou is based on a 2022 online talk show and a 2019 conference where Cabading supposedly negated the authenticity of the alleged Marian apparition that took place at the Carmelite Monastery in Lipa, Batangas back in 1948. Demetriou, who is a devotee of the Our Lady of Mary Mediatrix of All Grace, said Cabading's remarks offended religious feelings, even going as far as accusing the priest of being Mary's, quote, rabid critic. Cabading argued that he did not violate Article 133 of the Revised Penal Code, as according to the law, the crime of offending religious feelings is committed if the act was done during an ongoing religious ceremony, like pag may misa. He also maintained that the alleged Marian 1948 apparition had no sign of supernatural character or origin and that this is not recognized by the Vatican itself. Cabading was arrested on May 13 based on a warrant issued by the Quezon City Regional Trial Court, Branch 81. He posted an 18,000 peso bail on May 15.
Hindi tinatanggi na merong pangyayari. Pero yung pangyayaring iyon ay hindi supernatural. Pag hindi siya supernatural, ang ibig sabihin nun, hindi siya galing sa Diyos.
Clearly, hindi naman nagyari sa isang
Right.
official religious ceremony
Oo.
yung mga pahayag no, ni Father Winston. Nagyari to sa isang talk show.
Yeah, actually, kausap namin yung spokesperson niya kanina in another show, guys. And pag sinabi mong offending religious feelings, may tatlong basihan daw. Yun, una, yun nga, sa isang public religious place. Like, for example, church. Tapos may nangyayaring ceremony like a mass and also parang notoriously offensive yung sinasabi. Eh, sabi nga, hindi nga recognized by the Vatican, so what's so offensive about it?
Tsaka parang kung hindi siya nire-recognize ng Vatican, I'm pretty sure yung mga priests, hindi rin nila i-recognize yun kasi Vatican na nagsabi.
Correct.
Pero nagulat ako, nakulong pa rin.
Yun nga for like 2
Father
days.
Cabading, di ba? Kasi inaresto nga siya
May 13.
on a Saturday. And parang
Walang
he had to
office
pay
sa Monday.
18,000 pesos bail.
At na-release siya Monday, May 15. So,
Kasi walang
natulog si
opisina.
Father.
So if the goal was, to get back at him a bit, medyo na-achieve yun ng konti. Pero, it's interesting also to see what happens to this kasi we are all very, quite outspoken now in these times on social media.
Yeah.
Diba? So medyo luma na yata yung ni Article 113, medyo archaic na.
Oo,
ito.
medyo archaic na. So, baka magbago to, no? Pwede nga tayong kasuhan. So, let's be careful lest we offend
Totoo
anyone's
naman.
feelings or religious feelings. Actually, just be kind, di ba?
Actually,
Ganun lang,
simple
makasimple
lang. Oo,
Don't be
simple lang.
offensive.
Pero sinasabi daw ni Father Cabading, hindi naman daw niya sinabi na demonic yung Mary Mediatrix. Parang nung nagsasalita daw siya, meron daw fina-flash na items on the screen. Hindi daw niya sinabi. Yun naman argument niya doon.
Ay, yan nga yung lagi sinasabi ni Sir Patrick na audio-video lock eh.
Yeah.
Kung wala talaga yun, minsan nalilito talaga yung mga tao eh, di ba? Okay, baling naman tayo, no? Some good news to liven up our spirits, especially for us working professionals who have yet to finish studying. Bills seeking to expand ways to earn a college degree are currently being tackled in the House and in the Senate. Lawmakers are looking to grant working professionals who have not gotten their college diplomas a chance to finish school. Under these proposals, undergrads who have at least 5 years of work experience related to their course can already earn school credits. And if passed into law, it will allow more schools to offer this program and boost the country's number of graduates.
Sana mag-doble o mag-triple yan, lalo na sa public universities ay libre naman ang tuition at miscellaneous fees para yung graduation natin ay dumami kasi ang annual graduation is a little more than 2,000 lang na nakakatapos.
Speaking of being kind and being careful online, a word of warning to parents. Bantayan po natin ang ating kachat ng inyong mga anak. Pati kayo. Police arrested a man in Quezon City for allegedly raping a 13-year-old girl whom he met on social media. Authorities said the suspect and the victim decided to meet in person after exchanging messages online. The victim was allegedly brought to a motel where she was raped. The suspect, however, denies the charge, saying that he and the girl are in a relationship and that he did not know that she was a minor.
Sabi niya, nung magkita kami doon sa sabi niya 18 nga po siya at ay gusto niya sumama sa akin gawa nung nag-less siya kasi sabi niya sa akin, ayaw niya na umuwi sa kanila.
Lagi niyo pong isusupervise yung mga anak ninyo sa paggamit ng social media. Dahil sa social media po, iba't ibang tao po ang nakikilala natin.
Right, before we go, well,
Ito na.
di ba? Last week, we have been seeing the big picture of Senator Robin Hood Padilla's viral bigote video, right?
Yeah.
If you
Ano
missed
ba yun?
it,
Para saan ba yun?
I
In-explain niya na,
cannot
di ba?
unsee that.
sabi niya wala naman daw masama mag-grooming, di ba?
Makati daw kasi.
Di daw siya bored, di ba?
Makati daw?
Makati daw kasi yung pagsuot daw niya yung mask, tumutusok yung yung bigote niya.
Well, di ako makarelate kasi wala akong bigote,
So kinakamat niya, it's worse naman daw if he actually scratches it with his fingers.
Ayan, kita nga natin, nag-demo na naman si Senator Padilla. Well, earlier today, the senator apologized for the viral video, saying he meant no disrespect. Padilla also joked around with reporters as he was beside an individual who also combed his bigote. And this is what Senator Robin Hood had to say, as well as his explanation for that viral video.
Ang tawag dyan, pare, romansa di macho. Pagdating naman po sa bigote, marami naman. Ilan ba kami may bigote dito?
I have no idea what that means. Romansa de macho.
It's romance macho style.
Oh,
and that's
okay.
I guess it's, and that's
Yeah,
it
leave it
for
at
the
that.
show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This has been the big story. Thank you and good night.